Welcome to today's explainer. We're jumping right into what our source material calls the absolute master key of programming, repetition structures. Specifically, we're going to figure out how to completely master the while loop. Because, let's be real, whether you're building a simple calculator or a massive video game, repetition is what gives your code its actual power. Let's dive in and see exactly how while loops function across C++, Java, and Python.
But before we even look at a single line of syntax, imagine this scenario. What actually happens when your code just forgets how to stop? Well, it's a massive hazard. The application completely freezes up, your computer's fans start spinning like a jet engine, and the program is just trapped. That right there is the infamous infinite loop. Understanding how to harness loops safely is a huge, crucial theme in our sources today.
So here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the infinite loop threat, look at the 5 loop types, cover C++ and Java syntax, dive into Python's unique rules, and finally, wrap up with some practice exercises.
All right, let's quickly ground ourselves with a clear definition before we jump into the deep end. A while loop is a fundamental repetition structure. It's designed to execute a block of code continuously, over and over again, as long as a specified condition remains true. The exact moment that condition becomes false, the loop ends, and your program just moves on. It's essentially like asking a question repeatedly. Is this still true? Yes? Cool. Then do it again.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the infinite loop threat.
This is the ultimate hazard warning we need to keep in the back of our minds for everything we build today. There's a direct quote from our source material that really stands out here. Forget to increment or update your variable inside a while loop, and you will create an infinite loop. Literally, if a loop is told to run while a count is less than 10, but that count is never actually increased inside the loop, well, it stays at its starting number forever. Updating that control variable is absolutely non-negotiable.
Moving on to Section 2, the 5 types of while loops.
Now, with that safety check out of the way, let's build our language-agnostic foundation. What's really interesting here is how these 5 structures act as our universal master keys to looping. First, we have the counter-controlled loop, which repeats a specific set number of times using a variable that increments. Next up is the sentinel-controlled loop. This one repeats until a very specific stop value is entered by the user. Third is the loop with a break condition, which runs indefinitely until a specific break statement shuts it down from the inside. Fourth is the nested loop, literally a while loop inside another while loop. And finally, the post-test loop, which you might know as the do-while loop. This one executes its code at least once before it ever even checks the condition at the bottom.
So just to recap and cement these in your mind, those 5 distinct tools in our looping toolkit are the counter-controlled loop, the sentinel-controlled loop, the loop with a break condition, the nested while loop, and the post-test loop. Keep all 5 of these in your back pocket as we start looking at the actual code.
All right, let's get into Section 3, C++ and Java syntax.
When you're looking at the code, it really helps to think of C++ and Java as structural twins. Basically, they play by the exact same syntax rules. The crucial point we need to understand here is the difference between pre-test and post-test loops in these languages. A standard while loop is a pre-test loop. It checks the condition before it ever enters the loop body. If the condition is false right out of the gate, it runs exactly 0 times. But a post-test loop, structured as a do-while loop, totally flips that on its head. It executes the body first and checks the condition after. This guarantees that your code always runs at least once, absolutely no matter what.
Let's look at a sentinel-controlled loop structure, which relies on a kind of safe word analogy. Check out the condition. While number is not equal to -1. In this scenario, -1 is basically the user's safe word to escape the loop. The program is just going to keep running, asking for inputs, doing calculations over and over again, until the user types that specific sentinel value of -1. The second they do, the condition becomes false and the loop finally terminates.
Now, while Java and C++ share that same core logic, I do want to briefly point out one minor difference for the Java developers out there. It's really just about how Java handles console input. Where C++ uses syn, Java relies on class utilities, like the scanner object. So inside your Java loops, when you're updating that sentinel value, you'll use something like number equals scanner.nextInt to read the user's input. The actual loop logic, though, exactly the same.
Let's shift gears for Section 4, Python's unique loop rules.
Python is kind of the narrative twist here. It's the rebel of the programming world, and it absolutely does not follow those standard C-style syntax rules we just talked about. There are three major quirks that constantly trip people up when they switch over to Python. First up, Python does not have a native do-while loop structure. It just doesn't exist. Second, Python totally ditched the classic plus plus and minus minus increment operators. Instead, you've got to use count plus equals 1. And third, no curly brackets to define the loop body. Python strictly relies on a 4-space indentation to determine what code lives inside the loop and what lives outside of it.
So how does Python handle that missing do-while loop? Well, it brilliantly fakes it. You essentially simulate a post-test loop. You create an infinite loop right off the bat by typing while true. You run your code inside that loop. Then at the very bottom, you place an if statement to check your condition, followed by a break command. It achieves the exact same result, guaranteeing the code runs at least once, but it requires a pretty clever workaround using an intentional infinite loop.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this all builds, putting loops into practice.
Okay, time to transition from pure theory to actual hands-on application. Let's walk through the exact steps of building a counter-controlled loop to print the numbers 1 through 5. Step 1, you have to initialize the control variable before the loop even starts, something like int count equals 1. Step 2, you set the condition, say while count is less than or equal to 5. Step 3, you execute the body, which here is just printing the count. And step 4, the absolutely critical part, you update the variable. In C++ or Java, that's count plus plus. In Python, count plus equals 1. If you forget step 4, you are stuck in an infinite loop forever, just printing the number 1, and nobody wants that.
Moving on to exercise 2, we're applying a sentinel-controlled loop. Let's say we want to prompt the user to enter a number and keep prompting them until they enter a 0. All three languages can easily apply our safe word logic to solve this problem. In C++ and Java, it's while, open parentheses, num is not equal to 0, close parenthesis, followed by curly brackets. In Python, it is wonderfully stripped down to just while num is not equal to 0, colon, followed by your indented code. Here, 0 is the safe word that kills the loop.
For exercise 3, we're building a loop with a break statement. We start with x equals 1. We create an infinite loop, while true, and print x. Then inside the loop, we increment x by 1 each time. But we also throw in a conditional statement. If x reaches 4, break. Remember what we talked about earlier. This is a highly controlled deployment of that infinite loop threat. You're intentionally opening the door to an infinite loop, but you're immediately installing an emergency trapdoor so you can escape precisely when you need to.
Now for exercise 4, the nested loop. This is where programming gets truly powerful. Imagine an outer loop that runs 2 times. Let's say variable I goes from 1 to 2. Inside of it, an inner loop runs 3 times, printing the word hello. The huge takeaway here is that for every single time the outer loop ticks, the inner loop must finish its entire cycle. So outer loop iteration 1 happens, and the inner loop prints hello 3 times. Outer loop iteration 2 happens, and the inner loop prints hello 3 times again. You end up with 6 hellos on your screen. They literally multiply.
Finally, exercise 5 focuses on the post-test loop. Let's say we want to print the word executing, just once, even if a variable called run again is already set to false. Look at how incredibly clean the C++ and Java syntax is for guaranteeing this single execution. We just type do, open our brackets, print our string, and then at the very bottom put while run again. Because it evaluates down at the bottom, the code naturally runs that one single time before it realizes run again is false and completely shuts down.
But let's contrast that with Python's required workaround to solve this exact same problem. We have to set run again to false. Then we open our infinite loop with while true colon. We indent, print, executing, and then we have to add an if statement. If not run again, break. I mean, it works perfectly, but it for sure takes a bit more logical scaffolding to simulate what C++ and Java can do natively with a simple do-while command. Which actually leads us to a really fascinating conclusion. We've seen today how these loops act as the master key across programming. But if Python, literally one of the most popular languages on the planet, doesn't even need a native do-while loop to function perfectly, do we really need them in language design at all? It's a pretty provocative thought about how giving developers fewer tools might actually encourage more creative problem solving. I hope this explainer has illuminated the true power of the while loop for you. Keep exploring, keep coding, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.